o'clock. I call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. The first order.
Welcome back, John.
Thank you, thank you. The first order of business is grant writing workshop. Is there anyone attending that is interested in discussing a project that they have? Oh, okay, so we will move on. We will do that again in the fall.
Well, you're flying.
Yep. Treasurer's
already got
report.
two of them done.
I'm gonna beat your record. Treasurer's report.
4 hours.
Ken?
Look, we have essentially the same report that we had a month ago. The only potential change is the 35% for the state match that was updated a day or so after the meeting. So you can see that if you look at the summary at the very bottom, we ended last year with $901,000. We brought in we're bringing in revenue of $774, but we're only spending $390 through the spring meeting. So that leaves us with $1,285,000. So last year and this year, last year the COVID year and this year the kind of COVID year, there weren't many grants, but the income still came in, so we started to accumulate some money. So we're in good shape to do whatever it is comes before us.
Richard?
On 1.285, or on the whole account, what are we getting for an interest rate? Is that?
You know, that's not the sum of what we get interest on. That's only a portion. In fact, this is actually money that's, we get, most of our interest comes in on the carried over funds, the fund balance.
Okay.
And the fund balance is even bigger than that because the grants that we have outstanding may be on the average half, say that half of them are spent and half of them are yet unspent. So we have more money than that.
Okay,
in
so
our interest-bearing accounts. And so the answer is, I don't know what the interest rate is, but we are estimating an interest rate most every year of $20,000. That's the third line down. But last year, the interest was actually like $30,000.
Okay.
The actual interest last year, or excuse me, in 2021,
Yeah.
the interest was like $30,000.
Okay, but we don't have a set, like a bank account.
The town treasurer
She Mary.
runs all that money, and so that's a question for the
So
town
that's a
treasurer.
question I should ask her.
Yes.
About what percentage we get.
And it's not much.
It's not much,
If you have
but-
any of your own money.
No, I'm just asking,
But
I'm curious
you're
because I
right.
saw the 20,000.
You're right, but
And I'm
in
figuring,
fact, I
well, we
think
got this much money, what's our interest?
it's more than likely that the actual number at the year end is going to be closer to 30,000.
Okay. That suffices me.
That's the thing, too, is the folks that are in the treasurer's office, they're the
Yep.
ones that are calling Ken to find out how these things are going to play out and what they're supposed to do. So there's a lot that goes on there that, by virtue of the fact that we have him as treasurer, is settled well, so.
Yeah, this report, just to reiterate, assumes that every grant that's been approved at town meeting and every grant that was in well, you don't have it, but the blue lines, the blue
Yeah,
shaded.
I got it.
Every grant in the blue has been accepted. You're right. So this is assuming that everything is already subtracted from how much money's, and so this is how much money we have left after all those things. Okay. So there's a lot of unspent money in the accounts that gets interest.
Okay. I just wanted to know about the percentage, see if we could get a better percentage or.
And we don't do that. That's the town
I
accountant
understand.
that handles all
I
that,
understand.
lumps it
Yep.
together. Can I entertain a motion to accept?
So moved?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion or any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Declare the motion carried.
Ooh, that was
We're no longer
Easy.
used to that.
No roll call. Roll
inefficient.
call.
Brooke, because my heart is with GCTV, could you move that microphone closer to you, please? We don't want to miss a single thing that you have to say. You never know where it's going to pop up.
Clerk's report. There are several. Where's my little notes? Minutes from February, March, and 3 in April.
I move that we accept all the minutes and approve them with any edits and discussion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Abstain,
Okay.
Why are you
Sorry
abstaining?
about that.
because I didn't actually read them in time for the meeting.
What the hell you been doing? This is an important committee here, young man.
Have discussion.
Jim's taking notes on this,
I'd like
you know,
to, I'd like to
just-
commend the minute taker for the
Oh, my
fullness,
God.
accuracy.
Right, and the amount of work that had to be done.
Our
for all those
4-hour meeting,
Yes.
the twos and the fros that were in there, she captured the spirit of the entire meeting and exactly what went on. And I think Joanne is to be,
Administrative assistant day today.
Joanne is to be congratulated for doing a great job as usual.
Okay, next item is Springtown meeting. One of the things from the previous town meeting that came up is who is going to be the spokesperson at town meeting for CPC. Certain questions that come to us need to be then handed off to the proponent of the project. Certain questions can be handled by us. Obviously, I wasn't at the meeting in October, so I couldn't field those questions.
Are you expecting
What's your
to be-
pleasure?
Are you expecting to be there this year?
Do we need a vote?
Well,
Or
to
just a
discuss it.
consensus?
It's a discussion right now.
I'm not sure why we need to make a decision on who does the presentation.
So that we don't have, because there was,
It was
People
so-
were
people reached out
confused.
to me and felt that at town meeting, there was some ambiguity as to who should be speaking on some of the warrant articles. And I
Oh.
explained that I felt some of that ambiguity was from town meeting floor, the residents will often say, because CPC is putting the article forward, I'd like somebody from CPC to answer this question. But it could have to do with the budget of the project, or some detail of the project that this committee wouldn't really be in the best place to answer, but the person who's asking for the grant would be. So then there'd be this like pregnant pause of nobody really knowing what to do. So I had suggested to John that this be on the agenda so that the committee can discuss what it is the committee answers. You know, like how much money you have, whether a project's, why it's allowable, why you fund a certain aspect of it. But if it gets to the project plan or, you know, who did this analysis, or that's really with the project owner.
and we do have two projects that are,
Oh.
sorry, that
No, go ahead.
are gonna have people there to speak. The UU Church and the South Grafton are the school superintendent, I believe, will be
Awesome.
speaking to their
Yeah.
projects.
That's why, and what we've always done before, because you learn from your leader, and when we were going through those articles for town meeting, right at the end, the one thing that I was saying is that make sure that you're at town meeting and be prepared to defend your article and so forth. That may have been seen by some people as you know, oh, gee, I'm giving them a real hard time or something like that. But Richard would be maybe the first to tell them that the last meeting where whoever had the article wasn't there and someone was looking for someone to answer the question. So Richard felt that you know, someone had to say, so he stepped up and answered the question.
Well, that was with recreation.
Yep.
And she was there.
And
And she was there.
she turned around and she just went back to her seat, came back, going back to her
Yeah.
seat. And everybody was asking for somebody from CPC could answer this questions. And I was sitting in the front row, so basically I got up and, you know, and did what I had to do
Attaboy.
on,
Yep.
for the committee. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
No, don't ever do that again.
No, I'm just saying, I would do that in a heartbeat again if that circumstance arose.
Yeah.
Okay? Because I feel we are a team, and we have to work as a team. And on this, what we're talking about right now, and I think if whatever person who has been working with any applicant, like I'm working with the gravestone and some other people, what do you call it? And we go in front of the town. And then they ask, somebody from CPC. Well, it shouldn't be Paul, it should be me, because I'm the one who's been working with them. So my recommendation is the person that's been working the most with that group, okay, that applicant, okay, should be there to back up the applicant, just like if,
But the problem with
yeah,
that is that they're applicants and they haven't been assigned
They haven't been assigned a
at
member.
that point.
but the thing is, that person helped them fill out the forms or whatever, this is how I feel, and I mean,
No,
everybody
I
can have their
understand.
own, but I feel if I'm filling out forms with Justin, I'm gonna use Justin as a guinea pig here. If I'm filling out forms with Justin and guiding him through all these forms and doing it this way, now he's done all his work. I done my work by listening to him and helping him do this and do that. Now we come to town meeting and they want Justin can't answer a couple questions. Well, that CPC member that's been working with them should get up and say, I've been working with them, this is what, I mean, this makes it more friendly, telling the town that we're working together. We took a vote, we can say we took a vote, and this is the reason why we took the vote on this. And that person, if it's me, or whatever, whoever it is, can say and back up what the people are saying.
Okay, if I can answer what you're saying there too, it's rare that.
is.
Okay, it's rare that as the article is going forward, that there is someone that knows all of the intricacies of that article. So, for example, the one for the school.
Yeah.
All right, they've really Sue and Jay have done all of that work, and they're ready to bring it forward and things like that. But there's
But I'm just saying-
but let me just finish. Okay, I know what you're saying,
Yeah.
but in the past, to have some word again is escaping me, continuity.
Yeah.
To have some continuity in what we've been doing over the last 20 years is that historically, for the new articles, it's been handled by the chairman, and I don't really see a reason for that
No,
to change.
I really don't see that being, but like what happened in October, no offense to any one of us here, is I jumped in with both legs, okay, to help my members. And that's how I feel. You're all my members, no matter what, okay? And it's just, if I was working with them, I'd know more, that I could say more. This is why you say, you have that person that's been working with them, treating them like they come into the Texaco Star. I'm just using that gas station back in the 50s, the man that wore the star, that
Big
slogan.
bright Texaco Star.
See?
And fill up your gas, and we're going to give you a beach blanket.
But I'm saying that we need to be more, the right word is more, not negotiable, but more
Organized?
organized.
But
Thank you.
Okay, but-
if there is a person that is doing what you're describing, that definitely will be the most helpful person at town meeting. But I think what Jim is saying, and what typically does happen, is the proponent comes to our meetings, and the committee as a whole kind of asks questions, helps them. It's not until they're awarded the grant that they get an official liaison that works with them.
I understand that part, but I'm just saying if there's a glitch at
If that
town
person
meeting,
can
can't
chime
answer the
in, that's
questions.
right.
They can't answer the questions. I feel it should be the person that worked with them, or the vice chairman, or the chairman.
If there's a person, I think that's our whole
That's-
point
May I
is,
interrupt with
if,
something? The purpose here, to be, I have to, because this is going on and on, I'm sorry.
Yes.
So the issue last fall was that the person who always was the spokesperson at town meeting was the chairman, and he wasn't there, and the
Yeah.
issue was not addressed prior to town meeting. So I think what I'm hearing is it should be the chairman, but I think you need a backup in the event that
Right.
he can't make it. And let's be real about this. Not all of you attend town meeting. Not all of you will be able necessarily to be there on Monday night, correct? Things happen. We have lives. So my point in putting this on the agenda, suggesting to John it be on there, was so that you could be organized and be orderly. Who is gonna speak? John first, Ken second, you who Ken, provided Ken's gonna be at town meeting, right? Like usually that's what will often happen. The two of them are there. John will deal with a lot of the questions. If it's a very specific money question, Ken usually jumps in.
and I'm
And
very
probably
happy to
one other-
solicit help when I
One
need
other person that you
additional.
know is gonna be there, who can answer some of these questions. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That makes perfectly sense, and that's
Right.
what I'm
If
trying
I-
to get through. I'm sorry, I went the long way.
That's okay.
No, that's not
If I
like
may
you at
just
all.
Very briefly, if.
I'm
if for
sorry,
some-
I'm told to be blunt, and I can't be blunt.
If for some reason you, John, can't make it to town meeting, the next best for this committee in my mind would be the vice chair.
Right, I would
You know,
reach
and-
out to,
Well, yeah,
And
and I wasn't there because of the COVID. You know,
we understand
yeah.
what happened in October is. in
Yeah.
the past.
That's past us,
The-
we're
the
now we're
other-
looking forward.
The other point I think is worth saying is that if there's a question of the applicant, of their proposal, we as a committee are not necessarily aware of the answers or that's responsible for the answers. If the person
Good
can't
point.
answer their own, a question to them, that's something that the town would then have to consider that they don't have this answer. Do we want to fund it?
Good point.
And I think that it should not be up to us to fill in the blanks of an applicant.
no,
Well, it's not
it
that
never has been.
We're filling in the blanks.
You know,
It's- they have the
Yeah.
information that they can address, and
Yes,
then
no.
we have our side, the
Oh, no,
committee side.
We're on the same page. It was,
So-
Yeah.
the point was more when Rich mentioned like the.
Unless we
the-
can give them a softball to help them answer their questions, that kind of a.
It was a very unusual situation
Yeah.
that last year because she had a presentation and she could have given it and addressed the questions, but for some reason just didn't.
I think we're trying to repair a problem that we really didn't have. You know, they were told before to be ready to answer the questions, and they didn't, so it's on them, so.
So to get back
Yet
to
again,
Joanne's
really.
thing, who's the backup?
Right.
Not me.
I'll be attending. Jim, are you planning to attend?
I plan to attend.
So the two of us plan to attend. Ken, do you plan to attend? So the three of us,
And who's the backup?
you're not.
You,
I don't feel like I
I'm
am.
willing to
Need
be
a plan of
if for some
succession.
reason the three of you are not there. And I'm
So we have a volunteer.
There we
So
Justin.
there you go, you're covered.
all right.
And then related to this, in the past, we've always done this, and I suggest to do this just in case, is we would post our own meeting since
Yes.
we don't have special town meeting, we only have town meeting, that you have to be there at 6:30, which is a little bit early, to post just in case we need to meet. Typically, we'd post that meeting, there's nothing to discuss, we just chit chat on our own, and there's a report that says, no, there was no meeting held, but because you still have to file it because you posted it.
We should try and sit together. We haven't the last couple of
Right,
times.
we typically would sit in the front to the left.
To the left, about 6 rows back. Anyone who has any background in theater knows that 6th row center, that's the ace.
Is that?
Yeah. But if you're on a walker, you can only sit on the aisle.
when we say to the left, is that stage left or stage right?
Left. Make an L.
Right.
Stage right.
Make an L. Which one makes an L? It's over
Now we're
here.
really quizzing everybody's theater knowledge. Okay, so we will, join if you will post that meeting for 6:30 on second Monday.
Well, I'm not sure I'm available.
Okay, well, we'll make
I'm
you
only kidding.
available. Okay, just meeting. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the bylaw change regarding CPC membership. We need to discuss that. We need to have a a comment for Finance Committee. Thank you for attending, Ken and Joanne. I was driving, and
So if I can, so this is going to be a vote that we'll take
we'll
after discussion?
we'll have a discussion and most
Okay.
likely have a vote, because we need to come or go respond to Finance Committee.
I'd like to
say-
make a motion that, that the CPC say that this action is not necessary and should not be supported.
Okay, so I have a motion on the table discussing the proposed, or the warrant article 37, that indicates that we do
Who is
not
that
support
directed at? The comment that you're making, is that for Finance Committee, or is that on the town meeting floor? I'm not sure.
Well, I think one follows the other.
Well, that we needed.
This is what we need is for the finance,
Committee, and then we
right?
also would copy selectmen as well,
May I?
because
Is everyone aware of what's transpired?
Well, can we get a second?
Can I?
we'll have a let's
I
get
thought we were in
either
discussion.
have a second or not, then we'll have our discussion, okay?
I would like just one comment before a second, if I may.
Why? Whether you got to do it in
Very
negotiation?
brief comment.
Just a second and we'll discuss it. Second for discussion.
Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Justin?
My first and main point for discussion here is that we spent much of this past month as a committee saying how this, article and potential article and the actual committee makeup of CPC is outside of the jurisdiction of this committee, and that's why there was no deliberation at the select board meeting. And that was as a response to the open meeting law complaint that me and Jim filed. I don't think we should be taking this up as a committee because of what the committee had previously said. As it was indicated by the committee that the makeup of this committee is not germane to this committee's purview, and we should not be.
We don't get to decide, but I think we get to have an opinion. There's a distinction.
Right.
The
That's still
selectmen-
deliberation in my mind, but
Oh, here we
He made his point. Now
deliberation.
move on. He made his point, fine.
Okay,
Let's move on.
any other?
Well, I have a few things, if I may. You want to go first?
let
I
them
just,
go
I
first.
just
Go
have
ahead,
a-
go
I have
ahead.
a question.
Yep.
Just because I probably don't know all of these,
That's why,
all of
Kinda
these
what I wanted to
departments. Is what is the difference between the Grafton Housing Authority and the housing of, the Affordable Housing Trust? I think I know, but I would like someone to kind of,
Well, let me handle that. The Grafton Housing Authority is a board that is regulated by the Executive Office of Community and Development in Boston, okay? We are a housing authority that takes care of aged, blind, disabled, mentally impaired, family housing, veterans housing, and so forth. We have a very limited number of residences, but what we do is we administer those apartments and so forth because they are actually under the auspices of the Executive Office of Community and Development. Now, the Affordable Housing Trust was a group that was organized in the town to try to build up the affordable housing. So what their mission has been is to work ardently to try to find different money sources and then work with the select board to try to find available land and so forth, or other lands, or houses that are for sale and then remodel them, but just to kind of work outside of the box to try to see what they can do to add to the number of affordable houses or affordable housing in the town of Grafton. They rely on, completely rely on this committee in giving them funds. As you know, every request they've made has been awarded them. They also were very good in when there was a decision made by the state about some money that was expended by Grafton, and they vociferously went after a portion of that money so that would be able to be used in their quest of adding it. So essentially, and this is probably oversimplifying, but The Housing Authority, the Grafton Housing Authority, is a state-run entity, while the Affordable Housing Trust is a group organized by the Select Board in the town of Grafton, essentially to do much of the same things, but different. We do more, Housing Authority does more of keeping up, making arrangements for people to move in and things like that, while the Affordable Housing Trust, what they really want to try to do is get their hands on some land or some buildings and build and things like that.
So a couple of quick follow-up questions. So what I'm hearing is that the Housing Trust is, their kind of charges to add to the inventory of affordable housing. Once something is, quote, developed, does that automatically transfer to the Housing Authority
No.
for them to administrate it?
No, but it's funny that you say that. Automatically, the answer is no. What I have been doing for as long as the Affordable Housing Trust was alive, one of the plans that I have been pushing is to try to incorporate the as-built drawings from like Forest Lane or Maxwell Drive and things like that. If we can provide the Affordable Housing Trust with access to the as-built drawings, and they have the land and part of the funds that we'll need to create that housing, then as you know, CPC funds cannot be used for maintenance or anything like that. However, if they were to set up 10 units of affordable housing, we would be glad to step in and maintain those. Okay, it would take a lot of coordination between the Housing Authority and the Trust. Bruce Spinney was out with us at the Housing Authority a few months ago, and we were talking exactly about this. And one of the things we saw was the travesty that goes on in the state as to how that would be required to do. They would have to get a lawyer. They would have to file as a special some code of type of housing or something like that, enable the state to talk to them about running their housing. So it's doable, but everything is lined up so that they make it almost impossible, but hopefully we're working in the same page.
So the housing that they've developed, who's running it?
That's something that the Affordable Housing Trust is working on.
So how many houses or units have they developed?
I'm not sure that that there's more than 3? 3, 0.
Zero.
Okay, none.
Zero at this time.
I know
Again,
that
I'm just trying to get the background.
I don't think they're to advocate, they're to help leverage dollars, and they're trying to get a lot of players together because Grafton will never have $20 million to build something.
No, yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
don't think
that's,
they want to run it. They want to put something on the deed that restricts the deed so that the property cannot become on the open market.
cannot get fair market price.
Right. Sorry. Yeah.
Similar
And
to a
the other
440.
thing that they do with COVID and everything like that, as you remember, that they worked with our funding and they were going out and they were supplementing people's rent so they didn't get evicted. So they weren't just sitting around.
But it's like
It's
working,
just, I'm just looking for
No,
background.
I'm just
'cause
saying.
I
even
just
like
don't
working
know.
with Pine Street, working with that whole development, that if they had X percent designated as affordable, all of those units count as affordable. We don't own them. The town, that's a private entity that's
Yeah,
operating that.
it's under the state. and
But
the
it's like
fact
they're
is-
trying not to
Yeah,
get
but
their
it's-
hands in it other than to get them designated. That's the
Correct.
key.
The state
I
is
think
what.
they're working on Upton, for, same developer, but for Upton Street, not Pine Street, is what I believe is going on.
Oh, they got two of the areas
And
that
and
they're
Pine
looking
are
at,
the
yeah.
same, GSX, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
same developer, but Affordable Housing Trust is working with.
The other thing, the other player, by the way, is the federal government, because we have housing that's HUD housing, Grafton Acres,
Green Acres.
Green Acres, okay? That's HUD housing.
Okay.
So there's federal, there's state,
Right.
and there's local,
That's not a question, though.
Yeah, yeah. In the HUD stuff, I've been involved with HUD development, but I know that's a different animal, and
Yeah.
that's not really touched on by either the state or although, I'm not gonna even go there, because there's weird relationships between local housing authorities and HUD, and they go back and forth and so forth, but those are usually in cities, not so much.
Yep.
No, thank you for the explanations, because, I mean, I thought I had an idea of what it was, but I wasn't quite sure the interactions with the different things, and ultimately, you know, the point of it is to have more affordable housing. I don't think anyone should have an issue with that. So it's just like, but how is that administered? Where does it go? And
Yep.
and why, I guess from my perspective, what I'm trying to figure out is, you know, you were having this discussion about changing the makeup. And, you know, what does each one of those members from those two different committees, they sound alike, but are they really, do they have different perspectives?
Oh, yeah. They sound, they both have housing in their name, but they're completely different.
Right, and the trust part of it kind of gave
Yeah.
away, but it's just. it's-
Because you're saying that no one trusts the state? Is that what you're saying?
No.
All right.
Jim,
Thank
I'm
you.
Jim, I'm looking right at you. Paul, sorry.
So I just want to make sure everyone's aware that there is a warrant article on town meeting for the change in our membership. It's membership/bylaw change. It was put on by the Affordable Housing Trust at the Select Board's meeting on the 19th. That was the last day that you could put anything on. The warrant articles were closing.
I'm sorry, isn't that what we're talking about?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that everyone, you know,
Oh.
we have an audience out there presumably, so I want to make sure everyone's,
Not live.
oh, we're not live, okay.
We may
Well,
have an audience sometime.
At some point, we may have.
We
not.
had a live audience, I'd have started singing.
So I know that we also went to Finance Committee, and apparently they're meeting again on the 5th, because we obviously were not prepared to address this question when we went before them 2 days after we found out that it was going to be on the warrant articles. Ken and I have been working on a letter for the Finance Committee, so I'd like to share it with everyone so you can take a look at it.
While you hand that out, I'm just going to very quickly, Kristen Belanger obviously is not here. She had a prior commitment with her son. She was hoping to write a letter to express her thoughts on this, and hoping one of the other members will express the opinion that the composition of the committee is meant to balance initiatives in affordable housing, already has representation via the Housing Authority and the Planning Board. I have advocated to keep the same number of at-large seats so that citizens can remain involved and our committee remains diversified. So that was from Kristen.
Thank you. So this letter is intended to go to the Finance Committee with a CC to Affordable Housing Trust and the Select Board. It is under 500 words. It's one page. Just let you all take a look at what's there for content.
Just has a point of, I don't know.
Can we read this thing first before?
Just has a,
Yeah, let's read it into the record.
Paul, do you happen to have
Before
3
people
extra copies I can hand out to people that are in our audience? Do you happen to have?
I don't. I printed enough for us.
Okay, I do see another, at least one more copy in your folder there, so I was just wondering.
You want me to read?
I would like to just read it.
Just let us
Can I just read it?
read it fully to
But
ourselves.
I think we should read it because people are going to be watching it.
I want to know
We
what's
can
in
do
the
that, but
letter.
let-
Oh, read it out loud, he
Read
said.
it into the record.
You want me,
Loud, yeah.
you want me to read it out loud?
Yep.
Yes.
Paul, since he's got it.
We are writing to provide the Community Preservation Committee's perspective on warrant Article 37. It seeks to revise the town's bylaw pertaining to CPC membership by removing one of 4 at-large seats and replacing it with a permanent seat assigned to the Affordable Housing Trust. The Community Preservation Act requires that the CPC have 5 permanent positions filled by representatives from the Housing Authority, Historical Commission, Conservation Commission, Parks Commission, and Planning Board. It further stipulates inclusion of up to 4 additional members specified in the town's bylaws as at-large. It is important to consider the rationale for this structure. Committees with permanent representation directly align with the CPA funding categories: affordable housing, historical preservation, open space, recreation, or provide support to them. This creates parity and representation across these categories. The 4 at-large seats are subject to appointment every 3 years and are vital to ensuring the general community can participate in directing CPA funding allocations. An additional permanent Affordable Housing Trust position would create an inequity in the representation of the CPA funding categories by providing affordable housing interests to representatives while reducing community representation. Stuart Saganor, Executive Director of the Coalition for Community Preservation, which is the state organization that provides guidance on application of the CPA, stated the following regarding the elimination of at-large seats. It further takes CPA away from its goal, which is to have all 4 at-large slots be from the general community. You already have 5 town boards represented on your CPC. The at-large slots are supposed to be the chance for general town citizens to get input into CPA. In our view, taking away an at-large slot further concentrates the power in the hands of town government and not the community at large. Creating a permanent Affordable Housing Trust seat is not necessary for ensuring Affordable Housing Trust's inclusion in the CPA funding process. Affordable Housing Trust and many other groups have successfully done so without need for such representation. There are actually 3 examples of this among the CPC warrant articles for this coming town meeting. The steps outlined below can increase the communication and cooperation between Affordable Housing Trusts and the Community Preservation Committee without creating an imbalance in permanent member representation among CPC's funding categories or requiring removal of volunteers from their positions. Holding joint Affordable Housing Trusts/CPC meetings to provide a forum for better understanding of how these committees can work more closely together. Attendance of the Community Preservation Committee's Housing Authority representative at Affordable Housing Trust meetings, which could be taken a step further by expanding Affordable Housing Trust to a 9-member committee and adding a CPC representative, or alternatively, creating a non-voting CPC seat. Addition of a standing Affordable Housing Trust discussion item on CPC's monthly agenda. Having a CPA workshop for Affordable Housing Trust and the Select Board to enhance understanding of CPA. We ask the Finance Committee to please join us in supporting community participation in the CPA funding process by not recommending passage of warrant Article 37.
Nicely said.
Thank you.
I have one comment, which is, and I understand the executive director was talking from his perspective. I don't consider myself part of the town government. I am a citizen volunteer on a commission that I feel like I can provide, some technical, advice to. I don't work for the town. I don't consider myself part of the town. I'm a citizen that happens to volunteer for a town board. So I don't think I'm going to follow town government, whatever, put that in whatever box. I mean, I know you didn't say that, Paul, but that was one thing for me personally. I'm not town government.
The point is trying to have it so that people that have no connection to the town, that don't sit on another board, have an opportunity to participate in the process because it's supposed to be a community process. And
Yeah, that part I
Yep.
I don't have a thing. I just like,
do you take ethics training every other year by the town?
Absolutely.
Because you're considered a town employee because you're a member.
I
She
understand.
doesn't think she's the man. She's not the power.
I'm
I
a
get
citizen
you.
volunteer,
Yeah.
doing my civic duty, and I'm not.
Well, you
know.
certainly bring dignity to this group.
Yes,
Low bar.
Rich?
Just a quick one, and I'll be very quick. You put 2 representatives while reducing community affordable housing. It would be 2 committees, basically, at one. Well, don't we have that now? That we have, John's on the Historical Commission, you're on the Historical Commission, plus you're,
We're talking permanent seats.
He's on the district
We're
commission.
talking permanent seats. I'm an at-large member that happens to sit on another committee. We're talking about permanent seats, which is
Okay,
what they're
but
looking to make affordable
isn't
housing.
that-
trust have.
still a catch-22 situation, though?
No.
Because you're on, I know you, no, I just want clarification
It's a
here.
question.
Okay, is that 2 from the Historical Commission are on, granted, I'm just Joe Schmo that got put on, okay, that I wanted to be on. You're on the Historical Commission.
Yep.
You applied, you got on, okay? Ken is on the Finance Committee.
No, I'm not.
It was not.
No, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thought you were. But
So,
I don't see the big difference of having 3 members at large and having somebody from the Affordable Housing Trust.
the difference is you're creating a permanent seat for affordable housing with that bylaw change, whereas the at-large positions are subject to reappointment every 3 years by the select board. So, yeah, they've appointed 2 people from Historic District Commission onto this committee. But the next time around, they don't have to, well, John has to because he's the representative for the Historical Commission.
Right, but next time around, they could turn around and say, okay, they get all the applicants in, the applicants come in for their interviews, because that's the way it's done now, okay?
That's the way it was done before.
Anyway, don't stop him, let him finish.
But anyways, they come in, I mean, after deliberation of each party themselves, of the select board, they could say, okay, we're gonna go with this gentleman or young lady, and could be from the Affordable Trust.
Yeah, they could, they could.
That's
So, I
absolutely
mean-
So
fine.
there's nothing to prevent them from applying, and they did, actually, last year. They applied, but they weren't appointed.
No, I was.
Yeah. Well, there were 2 openings.
Right.
And I was appointed and you were appointed.
Right.
But the
But-
gentleman from the Affordable Housing Trust
I
wasn't.
don't see going down to 3 a big deal. And Stewart's, what he says sometimes, I mean, because I did his workshops, and he contradicts himself in different areas. So I'm not for
Yeah,
it.
no, I'm going to interrupt. No, I need to interrupt because you can't bad name this guy who has babied and carried this act forward for all of the cities and towns in the Commonwealth. And you want to make a comment that you were at a meeting and he was contradicting himself? Come on, Richard, you know better than that.
It's someone's
I said it
opinion.
before, Jim.
Oh, all right. Can
Someone's opinion.
I have a
Ken had his hand up, then
Okay.
go to you.
Sort of on this topic, it turns out that many of the towns that have been passing CPA recently have further described their at-large memberships as as selecting individuals who are not members of any other town body or not employees of the town. And so Grafton doesn't do that, and this bylaw doesn't do that either. But some towns are quite adamant at preventing this.
It's like half of the communities that are coming on board are doing that. And the reason is they want to avoid having it be stacked with people on town bodies. They want to make sure that the community, the general community, has a chance to participate in this act. This is an extra tax that is supposed to go to community benefit. And it shouldn't be controlled by town bodies. It should be controlled by the community. At least they should have participation with it.
Okay. One of the notes I made as I read this was a question relative to a bylaw can't change a mass general law. And I'm just curious, and Colleen is here, can I ask, do you know if the town council vetted this?
I believe town council vets all of the warrants.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
So,
Save you the steps.
Yes.
thank you, by the way.
No problem, Colleen Roy. So I believe town council vets the entire warrant. So,
Okay.
and at one point, we had similar language in the fall that was probably vetted. I know it's not this exact language, but town council has had some form of this, if not this exact one at this point.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think this is, looking at what have underlined, this isn't changing the state law. It's because the state law says that you can have up
You
to
have
4.
to have the 5 permanent positions, and you can have
Up to
up to an
4.
additional 4.
Okay,
other
I
seats.
understand that, but I was just curious as to whether or not it changed it, because All right, so you're saying that they,
It didn't change.
the master, I read the Mass General Law when all of a
Law
sudden they were
doesn't
looking for my
specify
seat.
at-large positions. It doesn't talk to them. You can
can have
have between
6.
5 and 9 members. So they require 5 permanent positions that they specify in the law, and then you can have up to 4 more. The bylaws are where we specify that they're at-large, and that's across the state. All the towns do that. That's where they specify the at-large members.
Okay, that's where I think my question is. So the Mass Law says that you have to have 5. 5,
At least.
all right?
Yep.
So it doesn't, do they go on to say that you're allowed to have 6?
It says you can have between
9.
5 and 9 members.
Okay, but it
Yeah,
talks
less
about
than
4 appointed members.
It talks about the 5, so you got housing authority, you got historical commission.
I understand that those are the
conservation,
5.
And then you can have up to 4 others, and that, it doesn't specify that they
Have to
be
be
at large.
Well, that was my
Our
question.
bylaws do.
Okay, but the Mass General Law says that, if I'm saying this right, the Mass General Law would have no problem if all 9 members were appointed from different groups that they were specified.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
And I have a quick question. So
Thank you.
I understand the Finance Committee goes and reviews each one of the articles and things like that. Did they specifically request CPC to weigh in on this particular article?
I did not attend the meeting.
At the Finance Committee meeting, they were going to hear a presentation from Dan Kusher, who was presenting to them on that article. And I pointed out to them that you had not had an opportunity to discuss it, and that you would be at this meeting. Mark, the chairman, said, yeah. There was a little discussion, I can't honestly remember, maybe can somebody, I think Skip Courier said, well, we can't take, because I had said they will probably be sending you a comment. Skip said, well, you can't take that comment if we're closed, but Sue Fiacco had said to me that the Finance Committee will often reconsider a recommendation that they make if they get new information in between the time when they've made the recommendation and town meeting. That's what I was operating off of. But it sounds to me, Paul, like they did not finalize their decision on this. So you have different info. Sue Fiacco did follow up with me Monday.
I don't know that they finished it or not. I have no knowledge of that.
Well, she sent me an email on Monday just saying, please don't forget
Okay.
to send me whatever comes from.
Because I know
I guess I went a really long way basically to say, I think they're waiting. I
They're
think
they're
expecting.
anticipating
Yes.
that we have some sort of,
We
comment
went through
on
this whole
article.
process just in the fall, because there was another attempt to change the bylaw, or it was going to be, and we provided our information, and it was taken off. It was passed over. This time, I don't think that it's going to be passed over. I don't know that that's an option at this point. Maybe it is, but they always weigh in on whether they support it or not.
Right, and usually it's Finance Committee usually has to do with the money, but this isn't
They
specific.
look at every warrant
But I
article.
understand they look at everything, yeah.
And the point from your question, Sandy, that I took out of what Joanne described was the Finance Committee were going to hear and discuss this article, but then Joanne offered that it's on our agenda, we're going to discuss it,
Yep.
we're going to give them a
Right.
response. So it was offered that we'd be giving them a response, and they took that into consideration, but that they did not explicitly ask us for a response. You know, that's my takeaway on that.
Right, they didn't write us a letter that said whatever.
Yes.
Or they didn't do a formal request. However, there is what's standardly done in people going to the finance. Okay,
And discussion at the
Yep.
last meeting, so.
yep, cool.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further
Well,
discussion?
under discussion, so you have Jim's motion about his blurb.
So,
Are
mean,
we gonna add
Paul's.
this to the blurb, or are we
No.
gonna vote on Jim's and then you're gonna get to maybe doing this one?
I could easily withdraw, but all I'm interested in is having a vote so that I can vote that I don't think this is a good idea. Now, whether or not we just do it as a straw poll, or if we do it using the letter that Paul made, I have no problem either withdrawing.
It's two, no, it
Or
sounds like it's two
amending.
things. One is for us to vote.
Well, hold on, because he's saying he could withdraw this. So if you're happy with this one, withdraw your motion, I'll withdraw my second, and then we can vote to see if this is the one. If you want to go ahead with yours, and say you want to stick with your one-liner, and then we'll have a vote.
No, I really just wanted to have a motion on the floor before
So,
anyone else.
You want to withdraw? So you're withdrawing, I'll withdraw my second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to withdraw my motion in favor of the letter that I just found out about tonight.
If I can just clarify one other thing. So this letter is meant for the Finance Committee with copies to Select Board and Affordable Housing Trust. We also are going to want to get this information out to the general public. So I would like to be able to have us send a letter to,
Time out.
I'm sorry, you're really gonna muddy the waters.
Okay.
You have a letter here that you would like to have
Okay.
sent to the select board, the
right.
finance, well, I'm sorry, it's the finance committee,
Committee
the
and the
copy to the
selectmen.
select board.
Good point.
So you need a motion.
Great.
That
So
you-
moved.
So, but you've withdrawn your motion and
Yep,
your
I withdrew my
second, so
Now I
that's
made a
off the
motion
table.
to submit this letter to the Finance Committee.
I want to
With a copy
have a
too.
permanent member that's
with the copy too.
Robert's
With a
Rule of
copy to the Board
Order.
of Selectmen.
I'll second it.
And don't worry, Ed, we'll send you a copy so that you can put it in plan at Grafton.
So we have a motion and a second in favor of adopting the letter.
Sending the letter, right.
Sending the letter drafted by Paul and Ken.
So and a copy to the select board and affordable.
Affordable Housing Trust.
Good. Motion second, any discussion on?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't think we should send it,
Okay,
point blankly.
okay. Any other discussion? You look like you want to say something.
Anything I have left to say has been already said.
You know,
Okay.
it's up, you know, we have a warrant article here, and I'm reading this, and it's up to, as Paul said, it's up to four, or, you know, of the five, it's up to five people that, from each commission, okay? From each, and then it could be up to four people. So I don't see no big deal of putting on another group to represent part of the town. It's just the town's, you know, I mean, it's not a big deal. So we down to three at large. The three at large could be from south, north, and the center, one of each. I mean, there's all different ways of looking at this instead of having four at large. Even though Stewart, well, you said, Stewart says, the more you have, the better it is. We have what we have, okay? But by reading this and sitting here and listening to everything, I believe this warrant article 100%, and that's the way I'm gonna vote.
Okay.
So
Sandy?
from my perspective, it's, it's funny, it's very similar, but totally opposite. Meaning, is the fact that, you know, having to change this, I don't understand why you're doing it and not, and you do this forever until you get someone to change it back, when the selectmen have the authority to appoint. So if they feel that someone from Affordable Housing Trust should be on, they can appoint them. So to me, I'm thinking not about this year or who gets appointed. I'm thinking about 5 or 10 years down the road when you don't have active people in the housing trust, or something happens to that, then it's you know, from Jim, you said it's something that the town has created, that commission, that trust, right? So it's not like the Conservation Commission where it's
You'll
it's
always be
set-
confirmed, yeah.
yeah, it's set by state law. The same thing with the planning board, historical, and I'm missing the others, recreation. Those type of things are set by state law, where the housing trust isn't. So to me, to add it to there, what's gonna happen 5 or 10 years if there's no one active in that trust? I have no opposition at all for the selectmen to appoint someone from the housing trust, but it's still at large. So I'm thinking in a very different, but kind of
No,
similar
I
vein.
understand what you're saying, but
But to me, it's just maintain that flexibility for the selectmen, and then then there's no argument about having too many people from too many committees, and it's still at large, and it will change over time. That's my big thing.
Move the vote?
All right.
All those in
All
favor?
those-
There you go.
Sorry. Wake me up.
Do you know what-
All those in favor? What?
So are we
What-
voting on this
On
particular letter
that
and not
letter.
just, okay.
That letter, yes.
By the way,
Yeah, I really don't like the Stewart.
well
Can I
said, well said.
recommend a
Said, said.
poll vote and not just a raise of the hands? So you call people's
Can I
names?
have one other comment?
Absolutely.
I don't understand the quote from Stewart.
it's in the letter. You gotta keep
I
it.
understand it's in the letter, but
And the
I
motion
just
was
don't
made.
agree with it. And everyone else can, and that's fine.
don't
It's not
agree with
gonna,
it either, but-
it's not gonna change my vote, but I'm just, for the record, that's my,
Point
Okay.
taken.
yep.
Well, just to make you happier, and I don't know,
Can't do it.
Paul,
I know what you're gonna say.
well, we can do whatever we want. It's a letter. Paul, would you take out, in our view, taking away further concentrates the power in the hands of government? That's your issue, I think, right?
Yes,
So, I
that's
mean,
specifically.
It may be affect some, but in some towns, but not this one
Not
perhaps.
me.
So if you stopped after
I don't have anything,
at-large
any other
slots is supposed
issues.
to be a chance for general town citizens to get input in the CPA, you want that whole last, I mean, if that's important to you, then fine, but if it
I
makes,
think it's making a point
Okay,
about
that's fine.
what's happening in town.
okay.
And that's fine, and I'm not gonna change my vote because of it. I'm
Okay.
expressing
So
my
did we
opinion.
remove the vote?
So we have a motion and a second. All those, and
Okay.
you're wanting me to,
No, let's just vote.
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Yay.
So,
See, that's why
I'd like to do a
Passed,
roll
but
call.
no.
That's why I thought we should do a roll call vote, but no one ever listens to me.
never.
So,
So we're doing a roll call now.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay, let's get going.
Brooke,
Yep.
Paul,
aye.
Nay.
then Jim,
Aye.
Stephen's aye.
Aye.
No.
So we have 6-2 in favor of the letter. The motion carries.
Okay,
So
now
this-
you had something else you wanted to do.
So, we have other
It's not right.
people we want to reach out to, obviously, in the town. We have the Grafton News is one outlet that we can reach out to.
Grafton Common.
Grafton Common is another one. And Grafton Common, typically when they post a article, it also will show up in All Things Grafton. There's another group in town that has a similar social media site, Grafton Group. So I would like to get those, the letter essentially out to all those outlets. The one little wrinkle we have in all that is for the Grafton News, they have a 300-word limit on what you can put in for a letter to the editor. So what I propose doing is splitting the letter that I just read to you into two, and having Ken, since he helped me and in drafting these, that he submit one and I submit the other
Mr. Chairman?
to the Grafton News,
When you're finished through.
and that we authorize the administrative assistant to post the other ones with those other groups. Although, I don't know, well, yeah, I think on all things, not all things, excuse me, the Grafton Group, I think you have to be a member to post on that site, which Joanne is not.
I want to make a point here.
Yep.
I am not on social media. I do not represent the town of Grafton on social media.
No, I'm just
Do
talking
not
about,
ask me-
I'm just Grafton Common, reaching out to Jen Paluzzi to have her posted on Grafton Common. Are you thinking of that as social media?
If you're asking me to submit a letter to the editor on behalf of the committee, absolutely I can do that to the local newspaper.
Point of order.
But I am not, I cannot post it to social media.
No, not asking you to post it. A letter to the editor
Okay.
to Grafton Common, which will then also be posted on All Things Grafton. We don't have the ability to do that on the Grafton group. It would have to be a post by an individual member, and it has to be somebody that belongs to that group. I do belong to that group, so I'd be willing to post it there.
So let me,
And then again, with the Grafton News, because of their limitation with 300 words, this is nearly 500 words. So if we split it into two, we'd have two documents that are covering the same material, but are under 300 words. One can be submitted by Ken and one submitted by me to the Grafton News.
Rich,
I'd like to make a motion that we do not send this out to any other public entity at all. We made a motion already that we are sending this to the Finance Committee, and we're sending it to the town Select Board. So my motion is not to send this out to any other organization or post it on any social media. And I'd like a second.
I'll second for discussion.
we have a motion and a second.
Discussion.
Hang on.
For what reason?
Because-
If you make a motion.
He
I just
made
wanna
the
know.
motion.
So if you made a
Yes,
motion, you
not
can't
to
take a
put it
second motion.
out.
So
But so you,
So the reason
I
why.
did not hear the word
The
motion.
reason
Oh,
why.
Is there a motion? In order, in order.
we have six
Was-
people
was
talking.
there a motion?
We have six
Paul
people
did not
talking.
make a motion.
Okay, so Richard's motion.
But I was in the
Richard's
middle of
motion
my
is on the floor
conversation
then.
when I was
No, you didn't.
interrupted.
Let's just keep going.
Okay, that's fine,
So-
that's fine.
We do have a motion
I made
and
the
a
motion,
second.
it was
And
second.
you had
motion
something for
and a
discussion,
second.
right?
Yes, I have something for discussion. This is a public document. Where it ends up, I don't care. I do not want to have us actively pushing this out to campaign against this. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I think I'm doing, I'm participating in this. I voted for it. I have no problem with that. I have no problem going to the, Finance Committee. I have no problem with going to the Select Board. I am not, I see sending it all out as a campaign. And if you want to do that as an individual, as this is a public document, I just don't think we should have it done through the CPC.
Okay,
What about with regard to?
okay, wait,
Who, do you think you can just talk out like I do?
yes,
Oh.
Jim. No, yes,
Me?
then you.
Me?
Jim, yes, sir.
Okay. How do we feel about, in following that, how do we feel about sitting on this, and then if the motion, if the article pops up on one of these social media areas, then we would send it along to the same, so that there would be equal representation, and we wouldn't be doing it on an ad hoc basis?
No, that's not my motion.
No, I know it. This is under discussion.
Yeah,
This
okay.
is how it works.
Okay, Tristan.
So, my overall thoughts are basically this is going to be a public document we're sending to Select Board. It'll be in their packet. It's a public document at Affordable Housing Trust. We can certainly, if we so choose, I'm not opposed to giving the news outlets a heads up that this is a letter we sent to the Select Board to the Affordable Housing Trust. If Paul or Ken want to individually, as individuals, send this in parts or whatever, saying this is what we sent or this is part of what we sent, that's fine. I'm not in favor of them doing that on behalf of CPC.
Okay.
And I do think that there's nothing that, prevents anyone on this board from saying at town meeting, this is a letter we sent to the Select Board, because that is absolute truth. I don't think we should be, as Sandy more eloquently than I was going to put it, said, I don't think we should be campaigning on behalf of this.
Okay,
So are you in favor of reading that at town meeting then?
I would defer to our order we already established.
Paul.
So what you're saying is essentially what I was saying. So I'm only suggesting that Joanne send this letter to Grafton Common. We can't send this letter to Grafton News because it's too long and they won't publish it. So Ken and I will separately submit letters to them that
Even
meet
if you
the.
take Joanne out of it, everyone would be more comfortable, it sounds like. Take Joanne out of it and just do it on your own. What's the difference?
And that's
Because what he said is
and that's what
to the
I'm saying,
news
Yeah. It-
outlets, he said
I
it
know,
was
but you
fine.
just do it on
Saying
your own,
you-
take
you could-
Joanne out of it, it's a public document, it's out in the world.
And it's-
You're just giving the heads up that there's a letter out there, and here's the letter.
Fine.
Just- I
Fine.
don't see it's
Fine.
6 of 1.
It can't be put out, what my motion is that you can't put it out as from CPC. It's got to be from yourself.
And
That's not your motion.
What was my
Your
motion?
motion was that the committee not send this letter to any other organization or post it to
Right,
social media.
that's
the
right.
key word from my understanding of what Richard said was the committee.
Okay.
Right, the committee. I don't want us looking like half of us is saying,
Right, okay, so,
One
but
thing.
you also haven't voted on that yet.
Correct.
no,
There
we
are
haven't
people-
voted. It's got a second, okay?
And just to kind of close that,
Just do
I'm
what
all
you're gonna do.
for freedom of speech, and whoever
no,
takes
I
this
am too.
public document,
Do what you're gonna do.
go for it. I just don't want it grouped all together, so
Because
that's.
what it's gonna do is gonna make us look
And
even
nothing
worse.
against
Well,
Paul
all right,
saying
well-
It doesn't
to,
matter, Paul. Just
Yeah.
do it.
I'm not
The-
for it.
Let's-
everyone should- it's just they don't want
Move the vote.
Yeah.
So you're gonna vote on Richard's thing
Okay.
about
Yeah.
who gets to read this? 'cause
Not
it's-
with this as a committee.
Oh, okay, that's the motion.
Whatever, just.
Can we just do
That's
it?
my
Okay.
thing. Paul wants to do it on his own.
A
that's
motion.
fine.
Okay, well, that's, we've got a motion, let's vote.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of Richard's motion?
Aye,
I'm gonna poll. Richard,
Yes.
Yeah.
so yes.
yes,
Sandy?
aye.
Ken, yes.
Yes.
Jim, yes.
yes.
Justin, yes.
Aye.
Paul, yes.
No, I'm gonna say no, but
No,
who cares?
okay.
It doesn't matter.
I-
I think you should be able to do it. Go ahead.
We just want it to be
Motion
over.
carried.
I just want it to be done, yeah.
Yeah, that's-
Richard's motion
Okay.
carried. Okay, so
you
that,
Okay.
You can do it on your own, just don't do it
and,
with CPC.
and to,
Fine.
I would recommend that you couch it with at the CPC meeting by a vote of 8-2, so that, or you can, I don't.
6-2.
It's
Yeah.
7-1.
I think-
It's added people.
Yeah, I think it's.
I'm trying to help somebody.
That's it. He voted for Biden twice, so,
I believe it was 6-2.
6-2.
Finish your point.
Stand corrected.
all right.
Daily,
All right, can we just, if we moved on, I bet would look a lot more organized.
Okay,
I think it's fine. So, okay.
so we're,
All right, before we move off of that, just, and.
I still
get-
want
What, you got something else?
Robert's Rule of Order person, official appointed committee member.
I have found a Robert's Rules of Order book. I'm going to give it to you. It was my dad's.
Oh, it's in the library.
Will you move me on to the next?
We're gonna go to Robinson
Okay,
property, yes.
before we do that, I
I'll
just
bring
want to,
mine
I want to
next
ask
time.
one last thing, and it's going to go to what Sandy's talking about. And I know you don't want to, I guess, campaign was the word.
Right.
Can you sit up, please?
Don't want to campaign. But is this, we've taken a vote at
Right.
6-2 that we don't want this to happen. So at town meeting, is someone going to be prepared to stand up and make a presentation about this, or a handout, or do something to say, hey, this is the way we feel? I don't know how, I'm not going to argue.
I'm
not
fine,
the-
I'm fine with that.
You're fine with that, okay.
So-
So,
To my,
Yep.
I just responded because I was saying, to my opinion, nothing is wrong with saying the CPC voted on whatever date today is, 6-2, or just voted in favor of sending this article, this letter, against this article, something like that. That is
All right, so is it-
completely true.
so everyone's fine with his letter, if he gets up and reads it, or something like that?
No
or
problem.
does a thing, okay, so
No problem.
And I am working on a presentation on that.
I felt you might.
And I would see this, as an action that we support, but we think it should come from you and not from the entire group, as if everyone were in lockstep. So I agree with you completely, but I don't want to see anything out there.
Committee doesn't want to make a presentation?
No.
Not to jump in, but I think we're confusing things a little bit. If
talk about
the
the
CPC makes a presentation at town meeting about this particular article, which we took a vote at 6-2 to support or to be against, that's coming from the CPC. That's not coming from Paul Scarlett. I think what Sandy didn't want is to go out there and put things under people's windshields and go to newspapers and do interviews and hold picket signs and say, we don't want to do this. She doesn't want to campaign in that sense, but
Right.
if he decides, or whoever decides to make a presentation, that's based on a 6-2 vote on we're against this article. So that is everybody, whether you're
But,
for it or
but you
not.
know, I had my hand up first.
Sure.
But I think that
Always
what I'm excuse me?
You always do.
Yeah. I think that what I'm concerned about is that in the midst of a discussion on the floor, that someone stands up and says, well, the whole CPC voted against it 6-2, and that's not the intent at all.
No, I have to jump in here. So what you guys voted against doing was taking that letter that you're sending to the finance committee and using that as a campaign tool to sway the public's opinion prior to town meeting. Think of it like an election tool. That's what I'm hearing here, okay? And that's what you've said, no, we're not doing. We're not sending that letter to the news outlets. If the news outlets get that letter because they call Paul and they say, hey, I'd really like a copy of that letter, then the news outlets have gotten that letter. But the committee has not sent that letter out to people. However, at town meeting, it's very common for a committee to make a presentation on something. I don't know if it'll be the school committee or the school department, we'll say the school committee for sake of argument, will make a presentation on the playground. The planning board makes presentations on things at times. Affordable Housing Trust made a presentation at that one town meeting on 25 Worcester Street. So, or I take that back, that was a citizen's petition, that's a bad example. So, committees often make presentations, and that's what Paul is talking about right now.
Yes.
Does this committee, he started a presentation, it sounds like, do you want to make a presentation at town meeting regarding this warrant article? My gut is like, well, I'm not gonna say what my gut is, but that's what we're talking about.
The presentation will be based off of what's in the letter.
Exactly.
Okay, so, Justin and then Ken.
Sure. My thoughts on the idea of doing a presentation against this article is we have the letter that this committee voted with specific wording that the committee was in favor of, of passing along. Doing a presentation that takes up additional time beyond just reading a letter, on behalf of the committee, I would not be in favor of, and I would want this committee to actually have an opportunity to vote specifically on the presentation to be given, and the town moderator as well to agree to let it be presented. Those two things would have to happen, in my mind, before any presentation would go on.
Well, he's going to make a thing as an individual, right?
As an individual is one thing. He could do a presentation as an individual if the town moderator allows him. Doing a presentation as a committee is a different thing because there is different pacing, different context, and what is put on the screen can have extra words added to it that make it sound like it is actually additional opinions of this committee that we are not, as a committee, agreed to.
Okay, Ken.
I move that the committee authorize Paul to convert this exact letter and the exact words in the letter and no additional words or points into a brief presentation to be held at town meeting.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second.
And the point is, it's no more than this. And using exact words and phrases in presentation form.
I would like to,
Okay, motion and a second to use the letter drafted by Paul Scarlett to create a presentation, a brief presentation at town meeting. Is there any discussion? Justin?
my only discussion is to add the phrasing to the motion if agreed, that at the discretion of the town moderator.
Okay.
Well, that's,
I,
that's,
I feel that's implied, but I would like it to be actually in the motion.
Okay.
who cares, sure.
I mean, because if they
It's
shoot
what
it down, they
happens
shoot it
anyway.
down.
It's-
I mean,
Everything's at
that's-
the discretion.
So amendment to the motion.
The motion has been amended to add at the discretion of the town moderator. So I have a motion, a second. Any other discussion? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Still gonna, no.
I nayed.
Okay. So should I- should I-
7-1?
should I
Oh.
poll?
It'd be
6-2.
6-2.
6-2. Justin and I say no.
Okay. She works hard.
Should get rid of that penalty.
You know, we've been at this since 7 o'clock, and we haven't yet talked about $1 of community preservation money other than the financial report.
But we're done.
Yeah.
You know, I think, let's just do what we do, and we do it so well.
Had been discussion about a handout at, there was a couple of, meetings ago.
So yours is just a presentation, it's not a handout, or is it, do we need another motion if you want to do a handout?
If we want to do a handout,
Or do you want this to be the handout?
Well, there had been talk about a handout about, what is CPC, because we haven't done that in a while. We haven't-
Oh, that's a
That's
different,
what you're
that's a
talking
different
about.
handout.
My,
Right.
That's,
my concern if we acted on a opinion of that is just not on the agenda. I think if we wanted to do it, we should have it ready for, if the chair's, thought is that we would want to do it, we should have it ready at town meeting and on our agenda for our potential town meeting.
To do this handout, this letter as a handout? Or,
The letter about what is CPC, that handout.
A
that you're
fact
gonna
sheet,
do.
a fact sheet of what CPC is.
It's
and
not,
does.
not a new one,
No.
same old one.
I'll say out loud, I would be in favor of that, but it's not on our agenda, and I would feel more comfortable if we had it on in a posted agenda before we actually took action.
not to belabor this at all, but Ken.
Too
did you
late.
say- I know. Ken, did you say there's one that already exists?
Joanna's done,
So.
Is there a-
Okay, so is there one that's already been presented at town meeting that you could?
So do we have new business on the agenda?
we need to discuss Robinson property, then it's updates. And I think the updates will go quickly.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
That's
have no
not-
catch-all.
that's not
Yeah, we
what-
have no catch-all. I would
So
love if
think-
we did.
You know what,
Yeah.
so, and this is my bad, okay, so maybe for next town meeting, we do the what is CPC, just because it's gonna be.
Is there
There's just too much.
And because we do have one, it's old, it would have to be updated.
It needs to be refreshed.
Is it like a flyer?
Right, it just basically
Just
tells
three-
people what
three-
CPC is.
Oh, one piece of paper.
It's a fact sheet, like.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it seems like there were some pictures of some of the completed
need to do-
projects, representative projects.
We need to take our
I'll put that
time
on
and
my
do a
list.
nice flyer.
I'll put that on my list.
Okay. All right, Robinson property. Ken, do you have any?
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything either.
So we don't, he hasn't,
It's for sale, but I think that everybody knows that,
We're gonna-
that the town would likely go,
Okay.
Yeah.
execute the right of first refusal, so I don't know how he's gonna get somebody to make an offer.
The only comment I have is I actually did have a town resident that doesn't know much about town government, briefly talk to me just because they knew I was, on planning board. And, this land over there is for sale, and tell me the address, I realized it was Robinson property. They were thinking about buying it and potentially just keeping it as, essentially as it is now, but as a, throw a tent up occasionally. I told them that basically, we have, informally talked about potentially wanting it. If the town wanted it, would go to town meeting and would, go in the process. And the 61A would, and how, basically suggested if they want to pursue potentially buying it, they might want to just have a talk with Evan. That was what I.
Did
how
you
I
get a
left it.
feel, was he in a butter or anything?
Not a current abutter to that.
So he was just concerned about open space?
They were
Nice
looking to use it
restriction
as
on
like
God bless you.
as a place to, throw a tent up in the.
Piece of
nice
That's a
park.
great thing. That's a great
It was
thing.
a,
Put a
it was a
restriction
good
on it.
idea, but it's not,
It's called well-owned.
I don't have a feel for how serious they were, for
gonna say
how,
not.
if, for the money or,
That's what I
what.
look
but
at.
That was a casual conversation I had like in the last month.
I'm sure it's-
Well, if the town pays for it and
my
he
tags
wants to
in
go out there in a tent, he's got to give us $10. Made to the town of
So
Grafton.
the answer is no news.
no news. Okay, town records archives project, any updates?
I haven't heard anything from Candy. no.
Okay, gravestones, any new updates?
Yep. We might not be able to remove that stone at all.
Okay,
I will know from, I can't remember
Mass
the
Historical,
general, Mass Historical,
Michael Steinitz,
Schultz is his last name.
okay,
He's a new guy.
Okay.
And he said you might not be able to remove it at all. You might just have to encase it, like him and I talked about, and leave it alone.
okay.
So I will have a definite answer from him by June,
Okay,
so.
yeah, I know it takes a while.
And then I'm gonna get, in between, I'm gonna do the pricing of making a capsule for it, a clear capsule for it, and the way that he was said that they do some of them in Boston.
Okay,
So we'll go from there.
thank you. Grafton Common Restoration.
So we had our change orders signed on the 19th by the select board. And we got the signature of the contractor that following Friday. They actually have been up there and done some loaming. You might see some orange tape up there, trying to keep people off. I haven't been able to get up there in the last couple of days, but they may have already seeded now too. They'll be mobilizing up there any day at this point, and we have a roughly 8-week timeline to get the work done.
And this is
goal
the bandstand you're referring to, right?
Well, it's not only the bandstand, there's a lot of motor vehicle accident
the
damage
repairs,
that
okay.
needs to be repaired. There's also the backflow preventer, which is a part of the irrigation system that is out of code right now, so that needs to be done.
That was a fire department thing, right?
Water.
Water District brought it up, and we've been working with the DPW to come up with the plans for it, which still aren't quite finalized, but we're almost there. There's some work that needs to be done in the road. There's a broken shutoff valve that'll have to be dealt with as part of it. But a lot of this work is the motor vehicle accident damage. The total of that came out to over $35,000.
Mother of God.
Yeah.
What happened to people's driving skills during the pandemic?
They fall asleep
So-
at the wheel.
Because accidents were during the pandemic.
One of,
Well, that's what I
yeah, it's so
mean.
true. One of the change orders is actually to put bollards in front of the.
You're gonna have to
east-
explain what that is. You got a lot of explaining to do.
You've seen them everywhere. They're long, tall tubes that are.
Okay, but they're called
Bollards.
Okay.
Bollards.
ARDS, right,
Bollards.
okay.
Basically, either 4, 6, or 8-inch ductile iron pipe filled with
Right.
concrete.
Oh, I know what
set
they
in
are, but,
concrete.
you know, in case we're not clear
And they're
on,
not gonna be granite posts.
No, they look very nice.
Like the yellow
They're
ones?
like a dark green. They call it evergreen, but it looks black to me. But it's very dark green,
Yeah.
and they have some shape to them. They look kind of
Like a hitching post.
Victorian kind of
Okay.
design.
or if you're
And there'll
colorblind,
be
it's
4 of
yellow.
them that will be outside the east gate, which is the one across from the Grafton Inn. They'll be in the grass, so they're not in the road. And they will protect not only that gate, because that's a direct line. If you're coming up 140, it's a direct line to that gate. But it will also protect the new electrical panel that is right in that vicinity as well. So money well spent. The other change orders, one was the bandstand is definitely listing much more than it was before. There was a concern because of the way it was constructed that it could collapse when they were doing the work. So part of it is jacking up the roof so that they are able to safely work on it. I'm trying to remember what the third one was.
What about Mass Electric? You said, National Grid, rather. You
Yeah,
said,
we-
you said at
paid-
select meeting that we paid them.
We paid them, there were 3 separate payments, and they just need to come out, cut out that pole, and turn on the electricity. So
Have we called them? Or?
the contractor has, the town has, I know Paul Canoyer has called them. So, yeah, we've been trying to get them there. They work at their own pace. You're at their beck and whim.
A year, 2 years later, it'll get done.
Wouldn't it be something if they turn around and say, you know, right there at that intersection, they should put an island there and maybe put a big cement structure so it'll save the gate.
A light on
Yeah, with a light on it, that's a better idea.
Like a dummy.
Yeah, a blinking yellow light.
Yes,
My God, I think we've got something here.
Weights and measures, moving on. Thank you, Paul. I'm getting better.
it. Keep going. Got here by 11.
There was a very high, extremely high bid to repair the plaster where they put in the electrical, and we had, the historical commission said, oh, we'll take care of it, but the bid that came back from the contractor that's been doing the other work was exceptionally high, so they're gonna get another bid to get that done. This has a sunset that's been extended anyway, so it's not like, it's a 30-day thing that has to get done, but, you know, as we would like to get it finished, so. Just have to get a contractor in there to do it at a better price. Lions Club,
Okay, there's a lot of movement really on this one. The earlier amendment, or what is it called? Whatever it's called. Project was doing the hot top, the lots and everything like that. And they, for the most part, got most of that done. And then out where that new shed is going to be with the Phase 3, they're just looking to see if they can get that, because they still have money left, to get that done as well.
They have money left in the first project. That's been closed out.
With the one that closes out on June 30th.
Oh, okay.
All right, that's what I'm talking about. So I talked to Peter Adams, and I told him if he can get a contract before June 30th, that and you can use that money, and that'll be fine. And then I offered him, I says, this is one of the older ones, so if you want to change the sunset, and he was not in favor of doing that at all. So from what it sounded like is that he's going to see if he can get a contract to do that other work. If not, say Levy.
Does it fall within the scope of the article, though?
Yes, it certainly would.
What is the work?
Pardon me?
What's the work?
Just additional to where that new shed is going to be.
Oh, I'm sorry, more paving.
Yes. All right, so that may or may not get done. If it does not get done, then that's more money that will come back to the coffers. The last part is on the newer one. They ran into a lot of problems with the sewerage going out, and they had, once they got it in there, essentially they were shot down and told that because of this configuration, they had to have a lot bigger exchange in there, in the ground, to cover from the two separate areas. So in having to do that, it moves the price of that way up. So what I suggested that they should do is to at least get that done, okay, with the money that's already committed for those projects. Other parts of the money was to build like a little house shed thing there, and that may suffer. The important thing is, one way or the other, that reconstructed sewerage has to be done. So they have the money for it in the article, so that'll be done. And then they also have another change order from the guy that did the architecture for the building, and he made it a little smaller, so there's still some hope that that may get done just as it's advertised in the article. But if not, then what'll happen is that they'll have to come back for another audit. They'll pay back they'll turn back the money that wasn't spent on the project, and then they'll seek out another award just for that little house there with all the stuff in it.
Is the house the bathroom?
Yes.
out.
So, yeah, so basically what we're looking at is paying a lot of money to get the septic and the sewerage all done, according to speculation that was changed. But now they still got to go in the woods if they need to go to the bathroom. So,
I think there's a portage.
Justin.
Yeah.
All right.
Any update on Cisco, other than I know we got a bill?
Yeah, I forget when I last gave an update, but Ray reached out to me about a month ago or so, just to double check when the sunset was. She believed it was earlier than it actually is, so I, clarified that for her. Her concern was just that they're almost done, but they might go past the sunset, what she thought was the sunset. So we did get an invoice on April 12th. I think we paid it.
Right.
It's for Austin Design, their engineering company, for $4,210. But that was the last update I had from her, was that invoice.
what did they do with that?
That was the design work for
The
inside of
design
Cisco.
work.
They supposed to,
What, can you explain why she's concerned about the sunset?
She thought the sunset was at the end of May this year.
Yeah.
So it's actually end of June next year. So that was, the end of May this year was where she had a concern.
is the,
Can-
buil-
can I
is
ask
the
a-
building supposed to be a certain color painted? Because it's
Oh, here we
bright
go again.
blue.
The,
Somebody
Painted it
painted
blue?
it bright blue,
Really?
the new building.
we had CPC funds in the past that were done on the exterior of that building. I that's long done. That's not part of this particular thing. So if they repainted, I haven't been by recently, but
Yeah,
if
I
they
just
repainted
went by
it,
it this morning, and it's bright blue.
but
I mean, that could be the historic color, so
yeah,
that's what, Sue, what was,
Can I ask a question?
I'm loose, what, losing my,
While you're thinking of what you're saying, Joanne, is the way that these projects are listed on here, is that in order of their age? Because what I'm getting at is I'm wondering, where is the cutoff when we made the change on the project that said that we could do the change in the sunset date? Do you know what I mean?
I do know exactly what you mean, and I think, I have to pull up the other sheet, but I believe it was with weed abatement.
All right.
recreation ADA may also be one of them. I
Yeah,
forget.
that's done, so.
Okay,
Oh, all right, so, and yours definitely isn't.
mine
No,
is
his is old.
Yeah,
would have to go to town meeting for another extension.
okay, so basically after that line there, if there's any things to do with sunsetting, then we can do them.
okay, and you said recreation is, they're all finished?
I apologize, I forgot to follow up with Kristen about that, but last month they just had a punch list, and Recreation was gonna be, spending some of their own funds just to
Right.
finalize that.
Okay,
So, weed abatement, they were ready to sign the contract last night, and the company, the vendor questioned why they had to provide insurance for 3 different communities, Grafton, Westboro, and Worcester, because they've only ever had to provide insurance for one community. So basically, nobody signed the contract because of this, as Bill said, kind of bureaucratic misunderstanding. So it will be signed soon,
okay,
but they like the vendor, they're going forward with the vendor.
Good.
And for 95 North Street, Recreation and Conservation voted to have the select board enter into an agreement with RDLA for landscape design work. And that was expected to be signed on April 19th, which I think it was.
okay.
Before we adjourn, can I just ask if there is a contest going on between Justin and Richard on growing beards?
I think you had a beard first.
No, but I'm saying the nature of the beard, because yours never that thick.
I just haven't shaved it or trimmed it in a while.
I'll just say this, as of tomorrow, you'll see a whole new person.
It's gonna make
We getting a new shirt?
Which person?
What?
Who are we gonna
What are you doing?
Shaving the beard.
I do. I've already lost 12 pounds,
jet black
number
beard,
1.
Good for
clean
you.
shave.
Good for you.
New
All for you,
look.
too.
The beard will take off a couple more.
Probably.
Sure will.
I swear I saw a little sparrow fly out of Justin's.
I got
Motion to adjourn?
chickadees in here.
I have a motion to adjourn
Second.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned.